Welcome to JD Vance's Luxury Lifestyle 2026, a journey into the world of America's 50th Vice President, where discipline, ambition, and success blend with prestige and power. From the battlefields of the Marine Corps to the halls of Yale Law School, from best-selling author of Hillbilly Elegy to the second-in-command of the United States, JD Vance's rise defines the modern American success story. Today, we explore how JD balances high-stakes public service with a lifestyle shaped by strategic investments, real estate holdings, and world leadership. Join us as we uncover the residences that reflect his journey. From his Ohio family home to the historic Vice President's residence at No. 1 Observatory Circle in Washington, D.C. This is more than wealth. It's a life forged through determination, intellect, and influence. Let's dive in. James David Vance was born on August 2, 1984, in Middletown, Ohio, a small steel town that once represented the American dream and then slowly became a symbol of its collapse. He did not grow up with wealth, privilege, or stability. He grew up with chaos, addiction, broken relationships, financial anxiety, and emotional uncertainty. Raised mostly by his grandparents because his mother struggled with severe substance abuse and cycling relationships, those early years left marks that never disappeared. Marks that shaped his worldview, his ambition, his resentment, his hunger to escape, his hunger to win, and even the way he later approached power and money. Because JD Vance did not come from a background where money was abstract, money was survival, money was safety, money was control. And from a very young age, he understood what it meant not to have it. His grandparents, Mama and Papa, were the emotional anchors of his life, strict, blunt, loving in a rough Appalachian way, and they instilled discipline, accountability, and a belief that if he worked harder than everyone else, he could leave Middletown behind. But leaving is never simple, because while JD Vance was intelligent, he was also angry, conflicted, and deeply shaped by the instability of his childhood. And that emotional tension would later become the fuel for both his success and his political identity. After high school, instead of going straight to an elite college, JD Vance joined the United States Marine Corps, a decision that changed everything. Because the Marines gave him structure, purpose, hierarchy, and discipline. It taught him how to function under pressure, how to follow orders, how to lead, and how to survive in hostile environments. He served in Iraq as a military journalist, witnessing war not from a romanticized angle, but from the ground level, where reality strips away illusion. And that experience hardened him, matured him, and gave him credibility that later mattered deeply in politics. After completing his service, he used the GI Bill, attended Ohio State University, where he studied political science and philosophy, graduating with strong academic results. And then came the turning point that almost no one from his background reaches. Yale Law School, one of the most elite institutions in the world, and stepping into Yale was like entering a different universe, surrounded by generational wealth, elite networks, unspoken rules, and cultural codes he had never been taught. But JD Vance adapted quickly, learning how power actually works, learning how influence is built, learning how money moves. And at Yale, he met people who would later shape his life financially and politically, including mentors, investors, and his future wife, Usha Chilukuri, a brilliant law student with an elite academic background, whose calm intelligence and stability contrasted sharply with the chaos of his upbringing. And their relationship became one of the most grounding forces in his life. After Yale, JD Vance entered the world of corporate law and venture capital, working first at a major law firm and then moving into investment, including time at Mithril Capital, a firm connected to billionaire Peter Thiel. And this is where JD Vance's financial transformation truly began, because venture capital exposed him to enormous pools of money, technology investments, private equity logic, and elite financial strategies. And while he was never the richest person in the room, he was no longer poor, no longer insecure, and no longer outside the system. He was inside it, learning how to multiply money rather than just earn it. And then, in 2016, everything changed with the release of his memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, a deeply personal book that told the story of his upbringing and attempted to explain the social and cultural breakdown of America's white working class. The book became a bestseller almost instantly, selling millions of copies worldwide, adapted later into a Netflix film, and generating substantial income through book sales, speaking engagements, and media appearances. And while exact figures fluctuate, Hillbilly Elegy alone brought JD Vance millions of dollars in royalties over several years, marking his first major independent wealth milestone. As his public profile rose, so did his assets. And by the time JD Vance entered politics seriously, his net worth was no longer modest. By 2026, estimates place JD Vance's personal net worth at $15 million, derived from book royalties, venture capital investments, speaking fees, stock holdings, real estate appreciation, and political salary. And unlike many lifelong politicians, his wealth did not come from decades in office, but from private sector success combined with media influence. And that matters when understanding his lifestyle, because JD Vance lives more like a restrained investor than a flashy celebrity. Yet the value of what he owns is substantial. JD Vance owns multiple residential properties, the most notable being his primary family home in Ohio, Cincinnati Home, East Walnut Hills, Cincinnati, Ohio, owned by Vance and his family. It is considered their main private home outside of official duties. Purchased in 2018 for approximately $1.4 million. Forbes and real estate listings estimate current value around $1.8 million as of recent estimates. Historic home, 1858, located in the upscale East Walnut Hills neighborhood. Size, about 6,000 square feet with 5 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms. Likely features include multiple formal living areas, large kitchen space, dining room, and often rooms with river views given its location, overlooking the Ohio River. Older listings mention upscale finishes, fireplaces, and period details consistent with historic homes of its type. This home underscores Vance's roots and his long-term base in Ohio. He also owns the official vice presidential residence, number 1 Observatory Circle, Washington, D.C. This is not private real estate, but the government-provided official residence for the U.S. Vice President. The historic Queen Anne style estate was built in 1893 and features 33 rooms. No private purchase price. It's maintained by the government. Roughly 9,000 square feet with multiple formal and private spaces. Includes a library, sunlit solarium, formal dining rooms, private family rooms, and reception areas. Outdoor amenities and grounds are generous and include landscape spaces. Next, Washington, D.C. townhouse, Capitol Hill. Previously owned by Vance and his wife. Currently rented out or part of his investment portfolio. Bought in 2014 for around $590,000. Around 1,674 square feet with 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. Primary suite with high ceilings and multi-level windows. Rear courtyard, open living and dining spaces with a kitchen. Next, Alexandria, Virginia home in Delray, previously owned by Vance, sold in early 2025. After moving to the official vice presidential residence, bought in 2023 for about $164 million. Sold in March 2025 for around $187 million, earning a profit over the purchase price. Built in 1925, about 2,500 square feet, with 5 bedrooms and 3.5 bathrooms. The interior included a modernized kitchen, wood-burning fireplace, primary suite with walk-in closet and office, and additional bedrooms and attic space. Exterior spaces included a landscaped yard, driveway, and an accessory unit with kitchenette and bathroom. This property was part of Vance's suburban Washington foothold before his vice presidency. Kentucky property. Vance reportedly owns about 100 acres of land in eastern Kentucky, originally purchased to protect family heritage at his grandmother's cemetery, valued modestly in the low tens of thousands. When it comes to cars, JD Vance is not known for a loud or exotic car collection, but the vehicles associated with him reflect wealth through quality and security rather than spectacle. His personal vehicles include high-end SUVs commonly used by government officials, such as a Cadillac, Escalade, or similar armored-capable luxury SUV valued $120,000. Chevrolet Suburban, estimated value $90,000, a full-size SUV frequently seen escorting Vance's official motorcade, often with U.S. government plates and diplomatic markings. It's rugged, spacious, and used for secure travel with family or staff. Tesla Model S, price $90,000. A high-end electric sedan known for long range and fast acceleration, popular among high-income adults and tech investors. Why it's assumed some lifestyle reports list a Model S as part of Vance's garage to signal tech-savvy tastes, though. Vance himself has said he doesn't own a Tesla and is skeptical of EV culture. Ford F-150, assumed pickup. $80,000 depending on trim and options. America's best-selling pickup, known for durability, towing power, and wide popularity among professionals and rural drivers. Why it's possible reflects Vance's Ohio roots and the practical vehicle choices often associated with his background and messaging, though no direct report of ownership exists. Jeep Wrangler, assumed sporty utility. Price, $60,000. Iconic. Off-road SUV with rugged capability and strong enthusiast following. Fits a persona tied to outdoorsy appeal and practicality, often referenced anecdotally for people from similar socio-cultural backgrounds as Vance. Range Rover, each valued around $100,000, equipped with advanced security options when necessary, alongside high-end sedans for daily commuting or public appearances. Ford Taurus, price $18,000. Mid-size sedans common in working class America in the 1990s and 2000s, practical and inexpensive. These vehicles are emblematic of the everyman cars someone of Vance's upbringing may have driven early in life. Depending on configuration, along with other premium vehicles used by his family, often understated luxury brands rather than sports cars. And as vice president, official transport is primarily government-provided, meaning heavily armored vehicles, maintained by federal security rather than personal ownership. But his private garage still reflects upper-tier executive taste. In terms of private jets and helicopters, JD Vance does not personally own an aircraft in his own name, but he has extensive access to private aviation through government transport, political donors, and charter arrangements. As vice president, he regularly flies aboard Air Force Two, a modified Boeing aircraft with security, communications, and luxury features valued in the hundreds of millions but owned by the U.S. government. And outside official duties, he has used chartered private jets valued at $20 to $40 million per aircraft, typically Gulfstream or Bombardier models, arranged through political networks or paid charters. And helicopters used are almost exclusively government-operated, such as Marine II, meaning while he does not own these vehicles, his lifestyle includes constant access to some of the most advanced and expensive aircraft in the world. JD Vance's watch collection is refined but conservative, consisting primarily of high-quality Swiss timepieces rather than flashy, diamond-encrusted pieces with watches, valued in the range of $10,000 to $40,000 each. Brands commonly associated with executives, legal professionals, and political figures are chosen for durability and status without excess. His jewelry collection is minimal, limited, mainly to a wedding ring and possibly a small number of understated personal items reflecting his public image of restraint and seriousness rather than luxury display. And when it comes to yachts, JD Vance does not own a yacht, and unlike many ultra-wealthy figures, he has shown little interest in maritime luxury, though he has access to donor-owned or chartered vessels during political or private events. This balance between access and ownership defines JD Vance's lifestyle because his power gives him access to assets far beyond what he personally owns, yet his personal portfolio remains controlled, intentional and strategically invested, shaped by a man who once lived without safety and now refuses to live without control. As JD Vance moved from private success into public power, his life began to transform in ways that were not just professional, but deeply personal, because politics does not simply change what you do, it changes how you live, how you are seen, how you are judged, and how your past is constantly pulled into the present. And for JD Vance, This transition was especially intense because he was not entering politics as a blank slate. He was entering as a man already famous, already controversial, already defined in the public mind by Hillbilly. Elegy, a book that some praised as honest and brave, while others criticized as judgmental and incomplete, and that tension followed him everywhere. But JD Vance understood something early on. Narrative is power. And if you do not control your story, someone else will. So as he prepared for a political career, he reshaped how he spoke, how he framed his past, and how he aligned himself with national movements. Before his marriage, JD Vance's romantic life was relatively private and unremarkable by celebrity standards. He did not cultivate a public image of serial relationships or dramatic breakups. His focus during his 20s and early 30s was education, work, and upward mobility. Any girlfriends before marriage were largely outside public attention, short-term, or serious relationships that did not define his public identity. And this lack of scandal later worked in his favor, because when he entered politics, there was no trail of public controversy related to relationships. No tabloid narratives, no reputational baggage in that area. And that stability contrasted sharply with the instability of his childhood, showing a man consciously building a different kind of life. JD Vance is married to Usha Chilukuri Vance on June 14, 2014 in Kentucky in an interfaith ceremony. They met while both were students at Yale Law School. JD and Usha Vance have 3 children together. They keep their family relatively private. Ewan Blaine Vance, born June 2017, eldest son. Vivek Vance, born February 2020, second son. Mirabelle Rose Vance, born December 2021, daughter. JD Vance has spoken openly about how fatherhood changed him, softened some of his anger, sharpened his sense of responsibility, and made his political decisions feel more personal and more urgent. Because once you have children, politics is no longer theoretical. It is about the world they will inherit. Usha Chilukuri became one of the most defining elements of his personal story, not because it was dramatic, but because it was grounding. Usha came from a background of academic excellence, discipline, and stability. She clerked for Supreme Court justices, including Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Brett Kavanaugh, and her intellectual credentials matched or exceeded those of nearly anyone in JD Vance's political circle. Their marriage represented not just love, but partnership. And together, they built a family that became central to JD Vance's sense of identity. As his political ambition solidified, JD Vance made one of the most difficult and consequential shifts of his life, moving from cultural observer to political actor. And this required alliances, compromises, and strategic evolution. Early in his public career, he was critical of Donald Trump, skeptical of populist rhetoric, and positioned himself as a thoughtful, conservative intellectual. But over time, he reassessed both Trump's influence and the direction of the Republican base, and he made a calculated pivot, aligning himself more closely with populist conservatism, economic nationalism, and cultural confrontation. And that shift was not accidental, it was strategic. JD Vance understood that modern American politics rewards clarity, loyalty, and emotional resonance more than nuance, and he adapted accordingly. When JD Vance ran for the United States Senate from Ohio, the campaign was intense, expensive, and deeply scrutinized, supported by powerful donors, including Peter Thiel. His campaign was well-funded, professionally organized, and heavily focused on identity, messaging, and grievance politics. And when he won, it marked the final break from his earlier life as an analyst of American decline into a man now positioned to shape American power. His Senate salary itself was modest by elite standards, around $74,000 annually. But the real value came from influence, access, and long-term opportunity, because power compounds in ways money alone cannot. As his national profile grew, so did the scale of his lifestyle, not in flamboyance, but in scope. His security detail expanded, his travel increased. His daily environment became more controlled and insulated. And by the time he was selected as vice president, his life was no longer his own in the ordinary sense. His schedule was dictated by briefings, motorcades, classified meetings, and public appearances. His family lived under constant protection, and every asset he owned or used was assessed through the lens of security. risk, and optics. Financially, JD Vance continued to invest carefully. His wealth strategy focused on diversification rather than extravagance, with holdings across stocks, mutual funds, private equity stakes, and real estate. His venture capital background made him cautious about overexposure. And unlike some politicians who leverage office for aggressive enrichment, JD Vance's portfolio grew steadily rather than explosively. By 2026, his annual income, combined from salary, investment returns, and residual book royalties, comfortably exceeded several $100,000 per year, with peak years crossing into seven figures depending on market performance and speaking opportunities. Though as vice president, paid speeches are restricted, limiting some revenue streams in exchange for power. His real estate holdings continued to appreciate, particularly his primary, Ohio residence, which increased in value as the surrounding area developed and security upgrades were added, including perimeter systems, surveillance infrastructure, and reinforced design elements, features that increase both safety and resale value. These enhancements alone can add hundreds of thousands of dollars to a property's valuation, making his home not just a residence, but a hardened asset. His Washington area property similarly benefited from proximity to power, a factor that historically protects real estate value even during broader market downturns. JD Vance's daily transportation shifted almost entirely to official vehicles, armored SUVs with advanced defensive technology valued individually at over $500,000 when fully configured, though owned and maintained by the federal government. These vehicles are built to withstand ballistic threats, chemical exposure, and extreme conditions. And while they are not part of his personal net worth, they define his lived experience, comfort, and mobility, and reinforce the reality that power often provides access to assets far beyond personal ownership. As Vice President, JD Vance's awards and recognition are largely political rather than ceremonial, including honors from conservative organizations, veterans groups, and policy institutes, recognizing his influence, loyalty, and role in shaping national discourse. While critics continue to challenge his ideological shifts and rhetoric, supporters see him as a voice of authenticity, someone who lived the struggle rather than studied it from a distance. And that tension between authenticity and ambition defines much of his public image. In terms of public perception, JD Vance maintains a carefully managed image, combining veteran status, intellectual credibility, and cultural authenticity, leveraging his Appalachian background to connect with voters while demonstrating elite education and political competence to peers. His communication style is precise, measured, and emotionally resonant, designed to convey both authority and relatability. And while critics continue to debate his ideological evolution, supporters see him as a figure who transcended personal hardship to occupy one of the most powerful roles in government, embodying the story of social mobility, resilience, and strategic adaptation. Politically, his influence extends beyond formal authority, leveraging networks from venture capital, law, media, and academia, allowing him to shape policy, direct investment, and guide messaging. And this combination of political and financial leverage amplifies his lifestyle far beyond what personal ownership alone would suggest, giving him access to rare opportunities, elite gatherings, and insights that few Americans will ever experience. And yet he remains purposeful, using these advantages to reinforce both personal and professional stability. As a father, husband, and public figure, JD Vance's private life is disciplined but intentionally human, balancing emotional connection with safety, personal presence with the demands of office, and family engagement with national responsibility. His marriage to Usha continues to provide intellectual and emotional grounding, allowing him to navigate the pressures of national politics with a sense of internal support. And this domestic stability reinforces the careful, controlled approach to wealth, assets, and lifestyle that defines his life in 2026. JD Vance's financial picture in 2026 is a complex but disciplined blend of personal wealth, political income, and strategic investment. Because for him, money is both security and influence, and the way it is managed reflects decades of survival-based thinking and elite training. Investment strategy is a key component of JD Vance's wealth. Accumulation, reflecting his venture capital and legal background. His portfolio includes private equity stakes in technology, healthcare, and media, diversified equity positions in public markets, low-risk government bonds, and mutual funds designed to preserve capital while generating steady returns. And while not extravagant compared to billionaire elites, this wealth allows him a lifestyle of comfort, security, influence, and selective indulgence. JD Vance's family life continues to be a core anchor of his identity, with Usha providing intellectual and emotional grounding, and 3 children whose upbringing is carefully structured around stability, education, and exposure to culture and civics, shielding them as much as possible from the pressures of public office. While he balances daily parenting with intensive professional responsibilities, this careful compartmentalization allows him to maintain both influence and domestic equilibrium. The vice president's lifestyle is further defined by security and routine, his day-to-day life, a blend of work, family, exercise, study, and strategic engagement with security teams, managing both obvious and subtle risks, travel routes optimized, residences protected, and all assets assessed for both practical and symbolic value, reinforcing his focus on control, stability, and measured presentation. Because JD Vance knows that power is as much about perception and risk management as it is about decision-making. Political recognition and awards continue to accumulate, ranging from veteran honors to policy accolades, reflecting both his service and his influence, while his intellectual and media credibility remains a significant asset, enhancing both public trust and private network leverage. And all these factors, wealth, property, access, influence, and disciplined lifestyle, intersect to define the full scope of JD Vance in 2026, a man who has transformed childhood adversity into financial stability, political authority, and strategic mobility. JD Vance's daily life as vice president in 2026 is a tightly orchestrated balance of personal discipline, professional obligation, and family presence, structured to maximize both efficiency and control. Because at this level, even small lapses in routine can have disproportionate consequences. Media influence is another key component of JD Vance's power and lifestyle. Following Hillbilly Elegy, he cultivated relationships with journalists, editors, and commentators who amplify his voice and perspective. Television appearances, podcasts, and op-eds are coordinated not only to shape public perception but to reinforce credibility and trustworthiness among both voters and political peers. This media presence enhances both political authority and personal brand, providing indirect economic benefit through speaking engagements and book royalties, which continue to generate residual income even years after initial publication. His disciplined approach to communication, precise, measured, and emotionally resonant, ensures that every public statement reinforces his strategic narrative, projecting both authenticity and intellectual authority. Within political circles, JD Vance maintains close coordination with the president, cabinet members, and Senate colleagues, balancing loyalty, influence, and initiative. His ability to navigate policy debates, negotiation tables, and partisan pressures reflects the discipline honed through both military and corporate experience. Personal meetings often occur in secure settings, private offices, or government residences, reflecting both the necessity of confidentiality and the need for operational efficiency. Alliances are reinforced through shared goals, policy alignment, and mutual access to resources, and JD Vance's influence is amplified because his credibility is anchored in personal experience, intellectual capacity, and strategic positioning. Looking ahead from 2026, JD Vance's lifestyle and wealth trajectory are shaped by a combination of disciplined investment, political influence, and strategic opportunity, a combination that allows him to maintain stability while expanding both personal and professional reach. Smaller real estate holdings and investments in high-demand areas offer additional financial growth, reinforcing the foundation of his personal wealth. The vice presidential lifestyle continues to demand a balance between public visibility and personal privacy. Daily routines are structured for maximum effectiveness, with mornings devoted to briefings and planning, afternoons to legislative and diplomatic engagement, and evenings reserved for family, reflection, and study. Security protocols remain comprehensive, including reinforced homes, monitored travel, and controlled access to all personal and professional environments, ensuring both personal safety and operational discretion. Even at events requiring public interaction, JD Vance operates with careful awareness of optics, messaging, and influence, leveraging every opportunity to strengthen political position while safeguarding private life. JD Vance's family remains central to this future-oriented lifestyle. His marriage to Usha provides emotional grounding, intellectual partnership, and stability, while their 3 children's upbringing is carefully managed to balance normalcy, education, and exposure to culture and civic responsibility. This focus on family ensures continuity amid the pressures of national office, reinforcing a disciplined personal environment that supports both professional performance and personal resilience. Public influence and networking continue to be major components of Vance's lifestyle. Political alliances, donor relationships, media connections, and cultural resonance amplify his authority, creating opportunities that extend beyond financial wealth into social, cultural, and strategic capital. Speaking engagements, media appearances, and policy influence remain carefully curated to maintain credibility, expand reach, and preserve alignment with both personal values and political objectives. These networks also facilitate access to lifestyle assets and services, travel, security, elite events that support the demands of his position without compromising safety or discretion. JD Vance's personal routines and leisure habits in 2026 are carefully structured to maintain energy, focus, and resilience, reflecting the disciplined approach that has defined his life from childhood to the vice presidency. Exercise is a cornerstone, with daily workouts combining strength training, cardio, and functional movement, often completed early in the morning before official duties begin. This regimen is maintained not for display but for stamina, stress management, and mental clarity, essential for the high-pressure decisions and long hours of political life. Nutrition is similarly intentional, with meals balanced for energy, brain function, and health, often prepared in secure, controlled environments to ensure both quality and safety. Breakfast, when time allows, is family-focused, providing a structured moment of connection with Usha and their children. Reading and continuous learning remains central to Vance's personal life, reflecting both intellectual curiosity and professional necessity. He regularly reviews policy papers, legal analyses, economic reports, and cultural studies, while also staying informed on national and global news, allowing him to anticipate trends and make informed decisions. Leisure reading is selective, often focused on biographies, history, and philosophy, supporting reflection and strategic thinking. Downtime is rare but intentional, consisting of family engagement, brief walks, or controlled moments of quiet, providing mental reset without distraction from core responsibilities. Hobbies are limited, given the constraints of office, but Vance values experiences that combine personal interest with learning or family involvement, such as structured outdoor activities, museum visits, or controlled travel experiences. Family life is carefully prioritized within this high-demand schedule. Dinners, when possible, are family-centric, and weekends are reserved for longer, meaningful engagement, educational outings, and personal connection. Children's routines are managed to provide security, stability, and cultural exposure, often including private tutoring, extracurricular activities, and family travel in secure environments. Usha's intellectual and emotional presence remains a stabilizing force, ensuring that domestic life balances the intensity of public service with warmth, guidance, and consistency. Social interactions are selective, focused on maintaining strategic networks while protecting privacy. JD Vance meets with donors, political allies, and media figures in controlled settings, often leveraging private homes or secure venues. Large-scale public events are approached strategically, balancing influence, visibility, and risk. Travel, whether domestic or international, is structured for efficiency, safety, and effectiveness, with access to government or chartered aircraft ensuring mobility without personal ownership responsibilities. To fully understand JD Vance's lifestyle in 2026, it is important to synthesize all aspects: wealth, assets, personal routines, family, influence, and the story that brought him from a turbulent childhood to the vice presidency. Family life remains central, with Usha providing emotional and intellectual support, and 3 children receiving structured, secure upbringing. Leisure is intentional, focused on reading, learning, selective family experiences, and controlled downtime that reinforces resilience, focus, and relational stability. JD Vance's influence extends beyond formal authority. His network includes political allies, donors, media contacts, and cultural touchpoints, allowing him to shape policy, public opinion, and strategic initiatives. Public perception is carefully managed, balancing working-class authenticity, military service, intellectual credibility, and executive composure. Awards and recognitions, from veteran groups to policy institutes, reinforce status, credibility, and authority, complementing both personal and professional networks. Media appearances, op-eds, and speeches are strategically coordinated, enhancing both influence and residual financial opportunities. In summary, JD Vance in 2026 is a man who has transformed adversity into discipline, education into authority, and insight into power. His lifestyle is a carefully balanced synthesis of wealth, security, family, influence, and personal development, a life structured for sustainability, effectiveness, and strategic advantage. From a troubled childhood in Ohio to the vice presidency of the United States, every element of his life, houses, cars, investments, watches, travel, family, and daily routine, reflects both the lessons of his past and the demands of his current role, creating a comprehensive, humanized portrait of one of the nation's most powerful and strategically positioned figures.